Thinking techniques in chess. So to improve in chess, you have to have a very good thinking system. So thinking system, once your thinking is more professional, then you will be able to make much professional moves. So in thinking system, there are a few types. Like you have to analyze the position, like in different perspective. Like perspective is like point of view. Point of view changes, like from grandmasters to algorithms and world champions. So the point of view totally is differs from player to player. Okay, so algorithms are mostly too stronger, but the problem is we can't rely on the algorithms all the time. Like if we rely on the algorithms, we are going to mess up our originality, and we won't be able to focus on classics. And studying too much classics, and if we ignore algorithm also, we can't stay objective. So there is a gap. Okay, so we have to fill the gap. So basically we have to like get more strong information, like because our brain is also like an algorithm only. It takes a lot of information, and we have to like do it in a standard way. Like let me give you an example. Okay, so in this game, it's like a Karpov playing with hot. Okay, so here you can see the game went e4, black played c6, white went d4, black played d5, and knight c3. Okay, so pawn takes. So here you can see like we have a lot of suggestions, like if they take, I mean here if we go back, we have a lot of suggestions, like we can go d4, e5, or knight d2, or bd3, but we can just focus on the piece development. Like these are quite common, with common in algorithm level as well as professional level, like developing the weak piece. And they take, we take, let's say, okay, knight d7, and here Karpov plays knight to f3. Okay, and in earlier in the 90s, the strong computers like Deep Blue, they always go knight g5. Okay, knight g5 has a lot of technical ideas related with the light squares, but an improving player, a player who's improving in chess, directly cannot go to these ideas, because they are not going to learn much. Because first of all, it violates the principle, like moving the same piece twice in the opening. Okay, even though it's a special exceptional case here, but for an improving player, he has to like study the games initially, which matches the algorithm as well as the professional players moves. So we can take common moves into consideration. Example, instead of knight g5, we can go knight f3. This is quite strong. Even in algorithm level, it's strong, and in professional level is also it's strong, because we are just developing the pieces, the knight. Okay, so now they played knight f6, and here Anatoly captures on f6. Okay, in one game, Michael Tal has played knight g3, and okay, so other options are also there, knight c3, but we can see here. So Anatoly takes it because he wants to gain some tempo here. So knight takes, and then when they take, okay, so here if we analyze, like there are many possibilities here. We can play bishop d3, keeping it stronger. This is one point of view. Okay, and bishop e2, this is one method, and h3 stopping the bishop. Okay, but here we can move the same piece twice, which is quite common in algorithm level and human level. The reason why we should move the knight here is because this bishop wants to develop on g4. So normally if we play moves like bishop e2, they are going to develop here. So this becomes a very strong developing square for the bishop. So what we can do is we can play knight e5, and this knight has a great control over this light squares. And right now, if he wants to develop this bishop, he has to play e6, and if he directly plays e6, you can see this bishop is going to be bad for a long time. Okay, so that's the point. So that's why knight e5 is more professional here. So here we can move the same piece twice because it has a point. We are clearly playing against this bishop. So knight to e5. Okay, so in the game, Hot played bishop f5 because they don't have the g4 square for the development, so the bishop has to go to f5. Okay, now if you observe here, c3 is more professional, even though we have moves like bishop c4, or bishop e2, or bishop g5. So many moves are there, but why c3? You can think for a moment. Okay, c3, the idea is, you see, the knight on e5 has a very strong control on the f7 square. Okay, and also they moved the bishop to f5, which weakens the b7. So light squares, these light squares can be attacked. Okay, so we try to attack like this. This is just a small imagination. Okay, imagine like a triangle. Okay, so pawn to c3. So c3, an idea to get the queen here and to attack this. Okay, so here Hot plays pawn to e6. Now it's white to play. So white tries to induce a weakness in the pawn chain. So since the knight is too strong on e5, it has some power in certain squares. So we can make use of them. So we can go pawn to g4. Very strong. So the bishop has to go to g6. Because if they go to e4, you can see the mobility is quite bad. So what we can do is we can just push the pawn here. And if they go bishop d5, c4, it's trapped. So that's the reason why black plays bishop g6, and we can go h4, quickly attacking the bishop, threatening to play h5. So here Hot played pawn to h5. Okay, now we can see the light squares are going to get more weaker, because here after the exchange of the bishop, the pawn structure is broken. We can see the pawn structure is broken and there's no light square bishop, and we have the light square bishop to attack. So first we have to play g5, fixing the pawn on g6. So the knight goes to d5. Okay, now there are many ways to attack the g6 pawn. Okay, so bishop d3 can be played, queen d3 can be played, queen c2 can be played. Okay, but Karpov chose the move which even the top engines also chose the same move, which is queen c2. So what is the difference between queen c2, queen d3, bishop d3? So you can think for a moment. Okay, the difference is, you see, this bishop is having a great control over this diagonal, and this queen is also going to get there. And you can see these two pieces power, or I mean here, wait, see this d3 square, like both piece power are merging at this point. Okay, so Karpov creates a good harmony. It's not like interrupting the coordination between the pieces. For instance, if I put the queen to d3, then the bishop won't be able to go beyond f1. And if I put the bishop to d3, then the queen won't be able to get there. So he basically plays queen c2. You can observe this. The small changes, if you pay attention, that's going to create a huge impact here. So that's where you improve in chess. So it's not, they are not breaking the harmony between these two. So queen to c2. So that's the difference. So queen c2. So you can see this move is very strong, like even in the algorithm level and the professional level. So such moves, you can pay attention to such move, which is quite common, and you have to select such moves and learn such moves, which can give you very strong understanding in chess. Okay, so queen c2. So king went to f7. Here he tried to defend. Okay. So now we have to pay attention to the attacking resources. So we want to attack the g6, but there is a defender, which is the king, which is defending the g6. So we need to bring more attacking resource here. So how to reach out the king? So bd3 is one option, but once again he didn't commit the bishop to d3 here because both the pieces power like could interrupt here. Okay, so first he plays rook to h3. So the rook is going to f3 to attack the king, and then the g6 coordination is going to be broken. So black went knight to e7, trying to cover this line. Anyway, rook came to f3, knight went to f5. Now this bishop needs to go to c4, so to put pressure on the e6. Okay, you see. Okay, so now black to play. So black has to defend. So there are a few options, but black played queen to d7 here. Okay, queen d7. Now white has a very strong attack. Can you spot it? So this bishop is very strong. This bishop is very strong. So white went for an exchange sacrifice. Rook f5, gf5, queen f5. Because the king position is not so good. And king g8 they won't be able to play because bishop e6 is there. King has to go to e7 because king e8 we can take on e6. And still there are a lot of weakness on the light squares. And the king is stuck in the center. So soon we can get the bishop out and castle, and we can slowly deliver a mate. So this is so powerful. So king has to go to e7. And now white plays queen to e4 because this square is quite strong. We keep an eye on the e6 pawn. At the same time, we don't block the other pieces. For example, if I put it here, that's going to block the way of the bishop. So they play on e4, centralizing the queen, which is very good. And you can see here, even it's quite common in the algorithm level and in the human level. So centralizing the queen. So centralizing is one very standard idea. So we can just play the queen here. So they went rook e8. Okay, rook e8. Next thing what we should do here. Again, we should pay attention to the moves, which is quite common in the algorithm level and the top human level. That is development. Development is something very powerful because you want to get your pieces out and your pieces becomes more powerful once you develop. So the best square for the bishop is f4 because from f4 it can take control over a lot of squares. So this is one, this is the best developing move here. So we can play bishop to f4. Okay, so they went king d8. So we need to quickly castle. But here Karpov plays a very instructive move. Once again, it's very a strong option. Okay, in the human level as well as the strong algorithm level. Okay, so let's analyze how it works because the algorithms what they think here is this bishop is quite strong. So basically black will try to neutralize this bishop action by putting the other bishop here. So they try to take this square away from them, so not allowing them to develop there, so dominating the diagonal. And this is very strong in human level also. So you see queen to e5, queen goes to e5. So once the queen gets to e5, now you can see the bishop on f8 is not getting good square to develop. So that's very important here. So Hort played rook to g8. So Hort is trying to get this bishop out. So he just played rook to g8 and then is planning to play g6 and bishop to g7 and to get there. Okay, we can just go castle. Okay, here you can see the strong algorithm suggests king f1, but we are not just going to follow that because we want to castle and put the king on the queen side, which is more safer from the attacks. Okay, so we have so many pawns here, and this side, see, it's somewhat exposed, but the queen side, it's more safer. So we can get the rook here. So castle. So they played g6, and Karpov went rook e1. Very important because you have to attack the weak point. Okay, critical squares. I mean crucial squares. This one e6. So we want to take this. So we are going to add more pressure there. So we can put the rook to e1. So black played bishop g7. Now the queen is attacked. Okay, so here there are a lot of suggestions like queen e4, queen e3, but Karpov makes a very strong move once again, which is very powerful in the algorithm level as well as the human level. That is releasing the piece with a tempo. So we have to gain some time. When they attack, we don't want to waste some time. And also you can see the a7 pawn is also not protected, so we can play queen b8. And if they block queen c8, we have a lot of pawns as compensation, so we can just take it. And new weakness is created on the dark squares. Once this pawn is lost, we get new possibilities here. Okay. So what happened in the game was Hort went king e7. So Hort thought that white queen is under attack. So he thought he gained some time here, but his calculation went wrong because Karpov has a very strong attack here. So timing in chess. So e6 is a weak point, so we can think for a moment and come up with a very strong plan here. So how to continue here? Okay, so rook e6, very strong. So rook e6. So there's no much option because if he moves something like this, we are just going to unlock this. So they have to take, and we have to once again gain some timing here because their queen is under attack. So Karpov plays a very instructive move, queen c7, too strong, because the point is if black blocks with the queen, that's going to unlock this bishop diagonal. So you can see this bishop is too powerful now. So the queen is pinned, so pinned piece they won't be able to perform. So that means the queen is not able to defend any squares around. So the bishop is going to go to d6. So see, this is a very strong mate. So rook e6, queen e6, we can go queen c7, and if they play king f8, we have a strong power on the f7 square. So we can play bishop d6. This is more accurate. So the queen won't be able to take because we have mate. And if they block, we can just go bishop e6. This is winning. Okay. And if they block with the queen, okay, so here actually Hort resigned after rook e6, but we will see more in depth here because if king goes to d8, there's an amazing triangle idea here. If the queen blocks, we can take this, and there is a corresponding square between this in the triangle. You can see this is one very instructive one. So we can go queen b8 first, making them to block, and then we can get to f4, forcing the king to go to e7, and then queen to c7. The final finish will be like this. If they go there, we can go to f7. Okay, so going back, okay, so this is the most important move here. So we had choice to go knight g5. Okay, knight g5 is professional in the algorithm level because Deep Blue also used this against Gary Kasparov and won. It has more ideas, but for an improving player, first he needs to pay attention to the developing moves. Okay, so it is good to be objective. You can learn a lot of ideas from the algorithms because we can't deny the technology, but you have to study the classics and you have to find which is more common, and then you can stay objective. Okay, thank you.